You know, the story of London isn't just a simple story of growth. It's this relentless, incredible cycle of catastrophe and rebirth. I mean, this is a city that's been burned to the ground, ravaged by plague, and bombed into rubble, only to rise up again, every single time a little different, a little more complex. This is the story of how disaster, again and again, forged one of the world's truly great cities.
And this is what you get at the end of that 2,000-year-long story. A city so unbelievably diverse, it feels like a living, breathing map of the entire world. But to really get how it got to this point, we have to rewind, way back. Back to a time when there was pretty much nothing here at all.
The sheer scale of the transformation is just staggering, isn't it? To go from an empty, soggy marsh on a river to this sprawling megacity of over 9 million people. So how on earth did that happen? Well, it all kicks off with an invasion.
So let's start at the very beginning. And this story, it doesn't begin with some grand visionary plan. Nope, it started with a really practical problem. An invading army needed a good spot to cross a river.
So the Romans set up this place they called Londinium, mostly as a supply post, and boy did it grow fast. But just 17 years later, wham, it gets completely destroyed, burned to a crisp by Queen Boudicca's rebellion. Archaeologists can still find the layer of red ash from that fire. The Romans, of course, rebuilt it, making it bigger and stronger, even throwing up a huge defensive wall. But you know, empires don't last forever. And when the Roman Empire crumbled, so did the city.
Think about it. The Romans leave, and suddenly, the city's lifelines are just cut. Trade dries up, money's worthless, and people just pack up and leave. Londinium basically becomes a ghost town. Its grand Roman buildings left to slowly crumble for hundreds of years.
But that river, the Thames, it wasn't going anywhere. And rivers always attract new people. So the next chapter in London's story would be defined by new settlers, brutal raids, and the forging of a completely new identity. So, get this, when the Saxons arrived, they actually steered clear of the old Roman ruins. Maybe they thought they were haunted, who knows. Instead, they built a whole new settlement about a mile to the west, and they called it Londonwick. So if you're ever walking through Covent Garden, you are literally standing right in the middle of Saxon London.
The problem was, this new town was a total sitting duck. Viking raiders came and sacked it, then came back and sacked it again. So King Alfred the Great makes this absolutely brilliant strategic move. He abandons Londonwick and moves everyone back inside those old, tough Roman walls, which he then fixes up. It's a huge lesson, right? Sometimes survival means retreating to the past to find your strength.
The next huge reinvention comes with the Normans. See, William the Conqueror comes in and he does not trust the locals, not one bit. So he builds these fortresses to keep them in line. And the most famous one, of course, is the Tower of London. It was a massive statement, carved in stone. There's a new power in charge here.
Now, during the medieval period, London grows in wealth and power, for sure. But it also gets hit with disasters on a scale that is it's almost impossible for us to imagine today.
In 1348, the Black Death arrives. And in just 2 years, it wiped out up to half the city's population. Just stop and think about that. Every other person you knew, gone. It was a cataclysm that just emptied entire streets.
And you'd think that would be enough, right? But no. Just as the city finally gets back on its feet, grows bigger than ever before, bam, disaster strikes again. The Great Plague of 1665 was another horrific wave of death, killing a quarter of the population. But what came next wouldn't just kill people. It would physically erase the city itself.
It all started in a bakery on Pudding Lane. In a city that was basically a tinderbox of wooden houses and thatched roofs, the fire just exploded. For 4 straight days, London burned.
The destruction was almost total. I mean, can you even imagine the heart of a major city just gone? Over 13,000 homes, thousands of livelihoods, all turned to ash.
In the end, 85%. That's basically the entire walled medieval city wiped off the map. But here's the crazy part. Out of that total devastation, you get this blank slate, a chance for a radical reinvention. They brought in new building rules requiring brick and stone, which created a less flammable, more modern city, whose architectural DNA would define it for centuries to come.
After the fire, London didn't just rebuild. It exploded. This was the era when it became the richest, most powerful, and yeah, the largest city on the entire planet.
I mean, just look at these numbers. The growth is mind-boggling. You go from 50,000 people in 1500
to 1 million by 1801, to over 6.5 million just 100 years later. All that wealth from the Industrial Revolution and the British Empire was just funneling right into this one city.
But, and this is a huge but, all of that incredible wealth came at a brutal cost. Victorian London was a city of absolutely shocking contrasts. While the rich in places like Mayfair lived in unimaginable comfort, the poor in the East End were crammed into slums that were just ravaged by cholera and disease. It really was the best of times and the worst of times, all happening in the same place.
So we hit the 20th century, and the threats changed completely. Now they're coming from the sky, and even from the very air people were breathing. This meant another round of devastation and another round of rebuilding.
During World War II, the Blitz brought destruction directly to the people. Night after night, for months, the bombs just kept falling. Over 1 million buildings were damaged or destroyed, and yet, just like after the Great Fire, that spirit, that refusal to give up, was just unshakable.
Even after the war was over, a new kind of enemy emerged. The Great Smog of 1952 was this terrifying environmental catastrophe. It was like a toxic blanket of pollution that just smothered the city, killing thousands of people and forcing the country to completely rethink its relationship with coal and fossil fuels. And all of that, the fires, the plagues, the bombs, the smog, it all leads us to London's most recent reinvention. Out of all that post-war rubble, a new city emerged, one defined not by empire, but by immigration and a truly global culture. The London you see today is a direct product of all this history. Waves of immigration, especially from former colonies, created the vibrant, multicultural metropolis we know now. I mean, you've got the incredible Caribbean culture in Brixton, the South Asian community in Southall. The skyline is always changing with glass and steel, but the city's real strength, its modern identity, lies in its people and its diversity. It's almost as if it's absorbed the entire world.
So if there's one big takeaway from these 2,000 years, it's that London's identity is truly forged in crisis. From the Romans leaving to Viking raids, plague, fire, bombs, smog, it has always adapted and it has always rebuilt. Which, of course, leaves us with one final thought. What's next? What challenge, what crisis is going to spark the city's next great transformation?